We're back, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of I Can Do This All Day. I'm Dan, the part-time Avenger. That's Mark, the Resident Jedi.
Hello there. In a world where there's decades of source material that you can pull from, what if you just decided to make shit up on your own? That, ladies and gentlemen, is our topic of today. What if Season 3?
What if Season 3? So I was a big fan of the previous two seasons. I thought it was just like really well done. And I love the fact that they have like these opportunities to do one-off scenarios and just bring up kind of just off-the-wall ridiculous things that you never would have thought of before. And so I like that. And I like that in the comics. And I know we've talked a little bit about that on previous episodes, but what did you think of the previous two seasons? And what's your history with the What If series?
So the What If series, first and foremost, was one of my absolute favorite comic series as a kid, right? X-Men, a little bit of Batman in there, and What If. I loved What If because it just gave the complete tale in one book, right? You read through a book, get a good story, learn, outside things, get introduced to new characters from the Silver Age or the Bronze Age that maybe you didn't know about as a modern comic reader, and then be able to go explore those books a little bit more. It was great. When it comes to the first few seasons of this, the first one, them making it linear, I thought was an interesting way to approach it. And it was fine because it gave us characters that we hadn't seen before, right? Like Captain Carter and, T'Challa Star-Lord and a Doctor Strange that was actually menacing. A lot of cool things. Season 2 got, they brought some people back, which is not something What If did a lot back in the day. Like they made a story and stuck to it, but they tried to, bring in their coolest characters. And then I felt like Season 2 and definitely Season 3, they're like, hey, we have movie characters that we have spawned. We should totally only use those. And that's where this series has kind of gone off the rails for me a little bit, in that I loved the comic so much that maybe I'm doing that thing again where my expectations are up here because of a deep love of a property, and I'm just like, stop showing me the same people.
Yeah. What If was another, not necessarily one of my favorites. I was always like, in terms of comics, I was always a big X-Men fan, and then a little bit of Avengers, but mainly the Captain America solo book, Amazing Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, and Web of Spider-Man, and then the X-Men comic books at the time in the 90s. So there were a few What Ifs that I did enjoy. My very first foray into What If, and I've mentioned on the podcast before, was what if the Punisher had become a agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.? And that was awesome. That was so cool. It became like this weaponized person for S.H.I.E.L.D. He was thinking he was doing these awesome, great things, and it turns out it was just like a whole bunch of evil shit. And what he does is Frank Castle decides to parachute into the S.H.I.E.L.D.'s facility and just solos everybody. And he's getting shot up like a mother, but he's taking everybody out. And so at the very end of the comic book, Punisher is just laying in a puddle of his own blood, just happy with his destruction, but glad that he could kind of avenge his wrongdoings. So that was my very first taste of it. And then there were some like weird ones that I saw that made me just kind of like get turned off by it. But I love the concept because I think you and I have talked about this on multiple occasions in the podcast, where we'll do a what if, but it's in relation to that movie. Like, what if we cast O.J. Simpson as the Terminator? What if we cast so-and-so as this? Or what if we had this happen instead? I think life is a big what if episode because we enjoy it. We love those hypothetical scenarios. And the fact that we can bring our own twist into things, I think is really great. But is it going to be great for this TV show? I don't know. We'll talk about it. I think there's going to be a little bit of discussion and maybe some disagreement, maybe 100% agreement that this was or was not what we thought it was going to be. The first two seasons, like I said, loved it. Did you like the first two seasons?
I liked the first season, like I said, because it was fresh.
Okay.
Love to see it. In the end, when it got to when you get the Watcher involved, that's when I'm like, okay, maybe they could do this once. What if the Watcher
He, d-
stopped watching? But when that's where it kind of Marthas me as it keeps going, and the Watcher keeps getting involved and like not watching, and yeah, it mucked me a little bit there. Like I know you want to talk about multiverses, and I know you want people to get comfortable with the idea of a multiverse, but bro, just let the Watcher watch.
but that's Uatu, the Watcher, that's his jam. He loves to watch, but he loves to get involved. He's not just the cameraman in the cuck threesome. He's gonna
In
get involved
this
somehow.
in this instance, in the comics, not a thing.
Oh, he absolutely gets involved. Absolutely does. Maybe it was after the fact. Like you when with your initial run of What If, he didn't. But he gets involved in so much shit. There is a storyline like Uatu ends up getting killed because he
Mhm.
just keeps on he keeps on intervening in so many things, and so someone kills the Watcher, and then
Yeah.
all the heroes, of course, because their ass has been saved by the Watcher so many times, they try and find out who killed him. And I don't remember that full storyline, but I'm okay with him interfering because I think everyone loves a little interference. You know, you like someone to give someone a fighting chance, because otherwise the villains would win every time because they would just do everything by surprise. And if they were an effective villain, everyone would be dead and their mission would be accomplished. But this is comics and you know other media, cartoons, movies, TV shows. So we have to have the good guys win, or at least have a fighting chance for them to win. For going into season three, were there any expectations? Were there any things that you were thinking like, oh, I hope they do this for this season?
I just was hoping that they gave some some play to characters we hadn't seen before. Like,
Which they did.
let's did they?
Yeah, of characters we haven't seen before. Absolutely, absolutely. Well, so let's go
Hmm.
into it. So, what was like your least favorite episode?
There's a tie for many, right?
Okay.
But for me, least favorite was episode 2. What if Agatha goes to Hollywood? Talk about something I never needed to see ever.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with you on that because the crazy thing is I love those two characters. I love Kumail Nanjiani's character in Eternals,
Hmm.
Kingo, and then of course we love Agatha. You know, she's just a great character. But this storyline was unnecessary. Didn't care. Like, why was it there? I just
Could
didn't
not care
understand it.
less.
I wanted to like it because like, oh, they're doing the thing again. They're gonna show a little bit of like Bollywood type dancing scenes and all that stuff. And then it just kept on going and going. I was like, wait a second, this is like a 22-minute episode. We're about, 18 minutes in. I don't think I'm gonna see anything cool.
Yeah,
So
no, it was just bad. It was bad.
yeah, yeah, it's tough to dislike Marvel for me, but this was one that I was just like I did not care about. And
Yeah.
that's part of the reason why. I don't know if you'd seen this little meme pop up across the interwebs, but yeah, instead of Marvel What If, it was Marvel WTF. That
Uh,
was
that
like the
very
big thing.
much that very much for me described this season. Episode 1 was like a 1A on my Martha episode list for this because I'm like, so you just wanted to do a mech and kaiju episode. Okay. Way to appeal to those international markets, Marvel.
I
I
was okay with
don't
that one.
know how why. It's never. Just stop. I don't need
I was
Gundam
never
Marvel.
I was never big into like Power Rangers. I liked Power Rangers just a little bit, just because of the Green Ranger for a while when I was younger.
Hmm.
And there's so many different versions of Power Rangers out there. But yeah, you have some Gundam callbacks to this, and obviously very similar to Power Rangers when you like avenge, or I'm sorry, do the whole Mech Avengers Assemble and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
I like the fact that they brought some of those people back in. So that it was nice to see some of those characters. I'm not a big fan of Godzilla Hulk, but I understand that that's some of the iterations of him that are out there. So I'm like, okay, I'll deal with it. And I dealt with that episode. I dealt with that
Yeah.
episode. It's like it's entertaining, but is it going to get better? For me, I was kind of right there with you on the Agatha Went to Hollywood, but the other one for me that I was just like, I just don't get it, just don't care, and that was the what if the emergence destroyed the Earth? Now you would think that Dan who loves dark, dreary endings would be into this, and I love myself a bunch of Marvel characters, but I don't care about Riri Williams. I'm not invested. And I understand that there's like some really cool storylines with her as a character in the comics, but it just hasn't got there yet for me in TV and movies. I thought she was okay in Wakanda Forever, but she was unnecessary. You didn't need her there. So that's where I'm at with Riri Williams, and I understand they're trying to build her up so that way she can be a part of whether it's the Young Avengers or maybe even part of the Avengers. I am not going to be holding my breath. I'm just like, okay, well, where can I see some of the more familiar characters for myself and the most influential ones? You know, the fact that they can influence certain things. I don't think she can influence anything right now besides a cartoon. So that's where I'm a little bit miffed about that one.
Dude, I gotta jump in. I was watching when this episode came out because this followed one of the better episodes in my opinion. Right, this is episode 5. It's right in the middle, and they said Riri Williams, and I'm like, who the fuck is Riri Williams? Like in my head, I'm thinking that, and then when I figured out it was Ironheart, I'm like, oh, Dan's gonna hate this. Dan is gonna hate this because you despise that character. You
In
despise.
in Wakanda Forever, I just thought that was an unnecessary character for that movie. It just didn't make sense to me.
You know what did make sense to me is how this character somehow became Shuri in this movie because she hacked the vision like that. And
Yeah.
somehow hacking the vision means you could bioimplant the vision. Like all of this Riri Williams super like intelligentness in this made no sense. The only small redeeming thing in this episode was Mysterio just being used. Not that
Yeah.
it was anything great, but
You're right.
oh, Mysterio. And and it also showed just how fucking T1000-esque Vision could be.
Yeah. That was cool. That was very cool. Like his descent into the little layer and just like one-shotting everyone. That
Just
was sweet. Yeah.
and they
Just
used the
smooth.
Titanic, which was kind of cool. We could be honest about that. It was small Easter eggs that made me happy, not the
Yeah.
arc of the episode at all.
Yeah, I didn't even care as to what was really going on. Like, really? Why are they trying to do this? Like, oh well, whatever. I'll just
Hmm.
continue to watch it. It
Hmm.
just didn't capture me. It didn't hook me. And that's one of the things that in 2025, and I started doing this in 2024. If it does not hook me within the first 5 to 10% of what's supposed to be watched, I'm out. I'm out.
I'll be
And that's
honest with you, man.
exactly what I was.
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I almost text you after watching the Agatha episode and was like, "Bro, we got to do so. I cannot
Can't watch
watch
this.
4 more hours of this and just keep. I can't. We can we please? What else is there out there? What if we did something else?" And then it gave me what I would say is the best episode in the entire season, and that's the Red Guardian and the Winter Soldier. I didn't know I needed it, but fuck, was it cool.
That was pretty awesome. And that was my favorite episode out of the entire season because I'm a Winter Soldier Sebastian Stan fan. And David Harbour, he is just a nice breath of fresh air and a good comedic relief buddy buddy cop in this show. You know, and I feel like when it gets to Thunderbolts, we're going to get more of that, and I'm going to love every single minute of it. So if they can repeat what they did in What If, and I'm sure that they did in multiple scenes with Red Guardian in the Thunderbolts, I'm down. I care about his character, and like the Winter Soldier and Sebastian Stan. So it's just like, okay, cool. We've got an awesome buddy cop film, or buddy cop episode in this series, and the action was good in it too, and the storyline made sense. You know, these are two assassins trying to be the best at what they are, or you know, in Bucky's case, he is just controlled to do that. He's programmed to do that, and the Red Guardian has a little bit more of like, hey, I'm Russia's number one secret spy, not the Winter Soldier. And I love that. He's like, pride. He has to swallow that shit, right? But he's like, no, you know what? Fuck it. I'm the Red Guardian. This is my show. I'm going to show him what's up. And so yeah, I enjoy that quite a bit. My favorite episode out of the series, in conjunction with that one, was going to be the "What if the Watcher disappeared?" Because you get a really, really awesome intro to something we haven't seen before in the What If series and the MCU in general, and that is Storm with Mjolnir as the Goddess of Thunder. That was awesome. That was so cool, and they got the original voice actors to who played Storm in the X-Men '97 and original X-Men series, and so how can you get any better? That was fantastic.
That was a dope episode, and they needed a dope episode after the fucking wild west of Shang-Chi. I mean, could they have just put a mechanical spider in this and just gotten it over with? Like, how fucking terrible was that episode?
I didn't think it was terrible. I didn't think it was the worst by any means. But so the one thing that Marthaed me, and I'm sure this was just obviously a creative choice by Simu Liu, but why did he have a Western accent? Everyone else talked just fine.
Bro,
Why did he have a Western accent?
where was you know what the
Or
redeeming
did I say that right? Is it a Western accent or a Southern accent? More of a Southern accent, right? So
it
sorry.
doesn't matter. Is just yes to all of that. Um, I don't know. It was funny for a minute. Um, but where the hell were the 10 rings? First of all.
He did use them in that
Oh,
episode. It was
yeah,
just
I
very
missed that.
slight. Like they didn't want to, because if that was the case, if he just used the 10 rings all the time, then Kate Bishop didn't need to be there, you know. But I liked
Kate
the
Bishop didn't
fact
need
that
to
she
be
was
there
there.
at all anyway.
Oh, it's nice to see her. I like her as a character, and it'll be interesting if they let Haley Steinfeld and hopefully the audience lets Haley Steinfeld cook because I just like her character and her portrayal of Kate Bishop. And
Is
if
it
you can get
because
a little
she's
bit of
already
buddy
been in a
cop,
Western movie?
maybe,
And
yeah,
that's
True
just how
Grit.
she fit in. Yeah.
That's
I will say my favorite part of that episode was Walton Goggins being in it. And
yeah,
just
yeah.
and with zero compunction using the baby Billy voice. Just just straight up. just straight up. I'm after I pay all my scientists, I'm losing money. I don't even know. Just the straight up baby Billy voice. And I was just like, okay, I have to watch this because I enjoy Baby Billy. But this was another one where I was just like, oh, I'll do something better. So then when they switched up and gave us Thor Storm or Storm Thor, very cool, very cool. And when I saw that episode, I didn't realize that it was a first introduction, but in my head, I'm like, man, I don't remember this from when they first got this gang together, right? The extraterrestrial or the multiverse Avengers. I don't remember them doing Storm like that, but that's super cool. Didn't recognize the voice because they've tossed it around and it's been a minute since I've heard OG Storm voice, but not
I mean,
upset about it.
last year with X-Men
Eh,
'97, it's not
let's be honest.
that.
We I skimmed X-Men 97 for some point.
Ah, how awful! How awful!
Um, but yeah, the last two for me were that overreach of getting the Watcher a little bit too involved in it and then beating up the other Watchers and making everybody a Watcher. That kind of just was like it is a little too much. I
Yeah,
will say the Howard the Duck episode really made me happy. Um,
I was surprised by that episode because I skipped it. I That was the second to last episode that I watched because I didn't care. I was like, okay, I
but you
skipped that,
liked
or
it, didn't you?
I did, because I also like Seth Green and I like Kat Dennings' portrayal of those characters, and who doesn't want a little bit of a replay of that Kiss song, especially because we were such big fans of the Fall Guy movie. So
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, that episode was one of the ones that stuck. Like again, they gave me Red Guardian and Winter Soldier, and then Howard the Duck back to back after the two trash episodes, so it kept me in it enough to figure out who the hell Riri Williams was and why she was in a. Why are we focusing on this character? Um, but then when you get to Western Shang-Chi, I'm like, I guess it's only two more episodes. I can finish it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
man,
it wasn't the best episode of
no.
Shang-Chi, and I'm a fan of him as a character, and I'm glad that he got an opportunity to make something happen because nothing has happened with him since his movie, and it's been a while.
You
So
know
I'm
what's happened for
hoping.
him since his movie? He was Ken and is amazing. And every time you watch Barbie, you're just like, man, he is talented.
He is talented, and if anyone has ever watched the show Kim's Convenience, it's on Netflix, so definitely check it out if you haven't. He's just a funny guy, and it's a really great cast, and it's a really nice take on an Asian family in Canada and them owning a convenience store, and shenanigans happen. So it's always fun stuff. But that's pretty much my high level stuff from that show and this season. But overall, like if you could pick out your most hated character in this, or most unnecessary character, maybe not hate. Maybe hate's a strong word because hate leads to anger, um, and anger leads to the dark side.
But it
But
did lead to some suffering for me.
yeah, yeah.
I'm just going to say that for me, the mech thing was unnecessary. Didn't need it.
Mm.
And just all the Eternals references. Can we just delete them? Can we
Y-
just stop? Can
But
we stop with the damn Eternals?
if you do though, then everyone complains about the fact like, oh, this shit happened, 8 years ago in the movies, and they haven't addressed a single thing of it. Like that's the problem.
Because it was
Is
an
you have to.
embarrassment. You know what they're not going to, you know what? 4 years from now, they're going to say, this happened 8 years ago and they haven't addressed it. The fucking, I can't even remember his name because they haven't talked about him in a while, but the Jonathan Majors character,
Kang.
we're not going to get any Kang anything, y'all. They're not Kanging it for a minute.
There's
Better
rumors that
Kang on.
the Fantastic Four are going to eliminate Kang and the
Mm,
Council of Kang
well,
supposedly.
well,
But
well.
we'll see.
I'm not going to, hold my breath. I'm not going to Kang on and wait for them to address that. I'm just going to say, let it go.
Fair enough. Fair enough. From a Marvel reference to a Disney reference, I guess that's how we
Oh,
roll. But
oh
uh,
man.
when it comes to what if as a whole, well, let's do it two ways. What if as a whole, and what if season three? Can you do this all day?
What if brings me so much joy to reflect on my childhood, going through the back catalog bot like I don't know about you. I had a pretty good comic shop, like a family, like a family owned little hole in the wall strip mall comic shop that's long gone. But that had, the long boxes and back order, back catalog, back issue. That's what I was looking for. That you could flip through. And I remember loving going to the what if section and just, I'll read this one because they were all under a buck or less. They were not expensive and they were just cool. Like, this is interesting. I'll take it in. So I remember going through those long boxes, reading them, enjoying them, and just the phrase "what if" and the Marvel always gets me. It always keeps me, happy. I will never not like "what if," but I will not like it if they continue to go down this route. Talk about something that needs a reboot or a reset. In my opinion, if they do a season 4, they just need to stop making it linear. because they did a good job the first time, and it's gotten worse and worse each and every time because for some reason they're trying to make it linear when it never was meant to be linear. It was never linear in the comics. Just stop. And I'm not trying to be a comic purist because I'm not that snob, but when it comes to what if the animated Disney Plus presentation, I really am going to have a hard time doing this again. Um, and candidly, if I watched this, if I did not wait till all of these were out, I would not have watched all of them. So no, I cannot do this series all day. Yes, I will always do What If all day.
Yeah, and that's fair to say. And I believe that the What If series itself is done for the cartoons. I think they are done. I want to say that that was like the final wrapping up of everything
Mm.
because they wanted to go out with Captain Carter sacrificing herself for the I don't even know if you can even call it the multiverse or whatever, but the the verse. Let's just
The
call it the
fifth
verse.
dimension.
Yeah. But yeah, so I don't think we're going to see any more of that. There's going to be a lot more animated stuff coming from the MCU world, I guess you could say. But yeah, I will say for the What If series, and I'm not even talking about the comic books for myself, because I feel like there's just so much content out there that I probably wouldn't like that would probably skew it to be like, I don't care about What If. I could leave it if that's the case. But when it comes to the series with the 3 seasons, the first season was great. And the second season did have some really nice highlights, and so did the third. But I think the there's a lot of low points as well. And for me, those high points were like super. I was super jazzed about stuff. Seeing Thor yell out "Viva Las Vegas" while throwing Mjolnir and fighting Captain Marvel, and seeing, even though I wish I could kind of take back the southern accent from Simu Liu, but Shang-Chi and Kate Bishop and the Old West was kind of cool. And I like those types of what if scenarios, but I don't need to have a what if there's a musical fight. You know, that just doesn't get me. And I'm not going to go back to it. But uh, I'm really kind of split 50-50 on it. But I will say, because those good moments, very few from season 3, besides the Red Guardian, Winter Soldier, and then also the Thorm. That's kind of what I was gonna say. Thorm, Storm, Thor,
It's not
Mjolnir
bad. It's
type.
catchy.
Yeah, right. But those would be the only big highlights where it put a really big smile on my face, along with a little bit of Kiss on there from the Howard the Duck and Darcy episode. But not enough to be like, oh God, I loved season 3 so much. But when you put all that together, I will say I can do What If all day, just because those highlights were far superior and very uplifting and more abundant compared to the downers. So that's where I stand on it.
And that, I think, is where we're going to stand as an episode. But I really want to know what the people think. I am not watching the internet on this because I really like, we're recording this on what, like January 12th. So this has been out for a little bit. I haven't watched the internet. So I really need the listeners to tell me what did y'all think? Because if we're alone in this, then we're just two crotchety old men, right? We're the Statler and Waldorf of podcasts, if you will. But man, I really don't think we're the only people heckling this.
The internet has spoken, and that's where I got this little meme from. So I think we're in the majority of this. We did enjoy it, and don't come after us, don't beat us up. But this is our opinion. This is our show, and when it comes to Marvel, what if, like, hey, what the fuck? Where did this go wrong? And how did we
It,
get here?
hey, one, it went wrong in a lot of places, but two, let's be honest. And I'm going to let the listeners in on a little bit of something. Dan loves it when you guys shit on our stuff. He loves comments that he can reply to. So if you want, at I can do this all day podcast on all the socials, please let us know what you think of our thoughts, specifically Dan's. And he will come back at your mean and heartless comments with all kind of his own positive spin on how he can just not do your comments all day. It'll be fun.
That's how it is. And until next time, This is Dan, the part-time Avenger. That's Mark the Resin Jedi.
Don't
We'll see you
forget,
next time.
like, subscribe, and heckle Dan.